going to the main thing, excited to get into game week. I think it's been a very, very fast July, very, very fast August. When you look at it, the first games, a lot goes into them. It's really the games of the unknown. It's the only game that there's a lot of unknowns going into it. And it's really on both teams. First of all, your opponent. I think in the world of the transfer portal, as we found out last year with Oklahoma, teams that you watch on video, usually that's not their identity. And they're going to have a number of different players playing just like we will. So you really don't know your opponent as well as you used to. New schemes, it's an opportunity for new schemes, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. So I think the ability to adapt and adjust throughout the course of a first game is absolutely vital. And then how will our team respond? How will we respond to the ebbs and flows of a game, the momentum swings? Can we maintain momentum? What type of leadership will we have? What type of connection, energy, spirit, will to win, all those things that go into it, the leadership and dynamics, and then the resiliency and toughness will be on full display. And like I said earlier, just the overall ability to adapt and adjust in first games. And then, the other thing that's been kind of the theme throughout the course of training camp is, can we make the routine plays routinely? And that sounds kind of crazy, but when we have an open receiver, it's like a layup. I've said it all camp. Can we make the routine plays routinely? Can we tackle in space? Can we keep points of pressure on the quarterback, which are going to be vital in this game? What's our strain like? What's our pre-snap football in terms of motions and shifts and tempos, pre-snap penalties, all those things that go into the first games. You still see it in the NFL with preseason games. What's our conditioning like? It's one thing to be in condition, but now when you play a game and all the mental effort and the mental intensity that goes along with that as well. Our ball security, being able to take the ball away on defense, but probably even more importantly is us taking care of the ball security that goes along with it, the play clocks, kind of having an in-stadium rhythm as we go and playing to the 40-second clock, the 25-second clock, all the things that go into that. And then I think the last thing, tackling and special teams. And, for the longest time, I've really taken a deep dive into the week 0 games and really kind of look at the nuances, offense, defense, special teams, kind of the things that kind of reveal themselves. We had a mock game last Friday night, and it is amazing of some of the things that just organically happen that are tremendous teaching points that, if it happens during the season, they're catastrophic. And along with that is, now there's consequences. There's consequences for missed assignments. There's consequences for dropped passes. There's consequences for not being able to protect the quarterback. There's all those things that go into it. And that's what makes it the game of the unknowns. We're playing a really, really quality opponent. UCA. I have a tremendous amount of respect for their head coach and for their football program. It's a complete football team. I think they're ranked 7th in the country, and rightfully so. They have a lot of returners. They have one of the best defensive ends that we'll face all year. His motor is what we talk about all the time of playing 4 to 6, A to B. Have a tremendous amount of respect for him as a player. They have 2 really good running backs. They have 4 starters back in the offensive line, big imposing offensive line, good skilled players, and defensively a really good scheme. Then they force you to execute to beat them. And in first games, that's what it's about, and it kind of gets back to what I said initially, is being able to make the routine plays routinely. And that's part of being able to effectively execute on a down-in and down-out basis, and all 11 individuals being connected and working as one. As we go into this game, as we all know, we're 3rd in the country with most newcomers. We're over 60 and 40 some odd in new scholarships. So, how are these individuals going to play? So I'll know a little bit more where we're at as a football team after the first game. Remember, we're still in the infant stages of building our identity. Everything that comes your way and expectations, those are really based off of last year's team. And this year's team still doesn't have an identity. We have yet to put any identity in the stadium and on video. So, and we're still working today. Today's a big day for us, obviously, being a Tuesday and a work Tuesday. But usually the identity of your football team never really truly reveals its true personality to probably game 3 or game 4, and then the ability to stay healthy and all those things that go into it. So I'll answer any questions y'all may have.
You guys, just a reminder, Davey has a mic if you get to him for your questions.
Coach, for you, obviously with the difference in the climate in college football, with the transfer portal, with NIL, how drastic is that difference when you now see game 1, you're in your 15th season as a head coach? Just how drastic is that difference?
The dynamics have definitely changed, and I think just from being here, you look at when we came in here as a staff, you look at all the different dynamics surrounding now this era, this decade of college football. We had conference expansion. We were just getting done with COVID. We had name, image, and likeness. All of a sudden, we had the transfer portal, and so all those different dynamics that go into it, and you have to have the ability to adapt and adjust. The good thing is a lot of these individuals were here for spring football, but I believe there's 7 of them that weren't. And so you try to show video, you try to let all your older players kind of lead the way with the expectations. That's why we did a very extensive mock game Friday night, right down to pregame warm-ups, to practicing the iPads again on the sideline, to the locker room setup, and then trying to, with the special teams and the different substitutions. But I think the biggest challenge is our style of play. Is really, are they going to commit to playing to a standard of expectation? Are they going to commit to playing to a standard that we expect here, play in and play out? All those little things, the connection, all the things that have really kind of gained our program momentum and moving forward. And it's our job as coaches to continue to teach them and continue to demand. I like what I've seen so far, but I'll know a little bit more, like I said, the progress that we're making after this game. And it's going to be a 4-quarter football game. I mean, it is going to be a hard-fought, 2 really good football teams going at it. And they have we have players, they have players on both sides of the ball that can wreck a game, that can change the game. David Walker can wreck a game. He can wreck a game in a hurry. And so all these different things that go into it will be a great evaluation tool for me of where we're at as a football team and moving forward. But yes, the dynamics that you just mentioned make it that much more even challenging. That's why we've done so much team stuff outside the building, is also earning that trust, building that trust amongst the peers and everyone. And so far, I've liked everything that I've seen.
I know you mentioned the technology, but obviously the new clock changes with the not stopping on first down anymore. What's going to be the biggest adjustment, just trying to adjust to both of those?
Well, I think the biggest adjustment that nobody's really talked about is the 10-second runoff under 2 minutes. It used to be with a running clock, with a penalty, it only happened with a minute or less. Now, I think the monumental change is going to be you have a pre-snap penalty with a running clock under 2 minutes. It's going to be a choice of a 10-second runoff. So the pre-snap penalties, the discipline to execute in critical stages and moments of the game, I think those are going to be really, really important. The management of a game with the 2-minute warning, so many things go into it. I've tried to talk to as many NFL head coaches as I possibly could about how do you manage the 2-minute from a special team standpoint, offense and defense. What's your mentality? Are you more willing to burn a timeout earlier because you kind of have the 2-minute warning timeout in your back pocket? So I think some of the game strategy, some of the game management things kind of change also with these clock rule changes.
Coach, in regard to playing an FCS team, kind of one of the biggest differences you see in terms of a matchup, or just the depth, the advantage you should have in depth, and the fact that they don't have as many scholarship guys?
Well, all I know is that the players that I've watched and evaluated, they're quality players. There's a reason why they're number 7th in the country. And I think all you have to do is look at New Mexico and Montana State in week 0, and 22 per 22 can match up anything. And it's no different than we go play Michigan and Iowa State. It's really kind of the same dynamics, but I know they're a quality football team. They have over 70 players on their team from the state of Arkansas. So I know this is a big game. We're going to get their best game, and we understand that. And they better get our best game too. And that's our job as coaches, to prepare them, get them mentally and physically ready to go. But, starting the season with a quality opponent, and it's going to be a hard-fought game. And it's going to be a great challenge for us.
You mentioned Walker a couple times, so just with him specifically, kind of how do you prepare for a player of that caliber, just going into the first game, not having really, your offensive line hasn't played yet this year, so just how do you prepare for that? And then the second part of that would be just recruiting-wise, what does this game mean just, within state, just with recruiting?
Well, I don't think it has much recruiting implications, but in terms of Walker and all that, the biggest thing is, are you able to manufacture the game speed reps in practice? I think that's the biggest thing. He's violent off the football. He has a great first step. He can reduce his surface. He plays sideline to sideline. Backside cutoffs are going to be at a premium. All those things. And you have to make sure as a coach that you're trying to replicate as much live game speed reps as you can, because if you don't, and then you have to go block somebody of that caliber, your body's not used to blocking that type of violence or speed. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that's the big thing in first games too, is how can you manufacture live game speed reps and all those things. So there's a lot of different dynamics, and he forces you to know where he's at. But I think what makes them challenging is their defense isn't just him. They're really good in the back end. I think they're really good at linebacker, and their front is good. And then they do different things with different fronts that challenge you from a mental aspect with your schemes, with the different fronts that they're able to throw at you. So again, not only is it from a physicality standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. And that's why I said earlier, is the ability for us to adapt and adjust is going to be vital as well.
Coach, wanted to ask you if you had an update on Jacob Bayer, and do you anticipate any players not being able to play on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's early in the week, but we anticipate having everybody at practice today practicing. Jacob's going to practice today. And so we'll kind of see where he's at. So it's kind of exciting to have him back. He has been practicing. And I think he's getting better and better with the volume of practice reps. So again, we have to do a good job of not asking too much of him too early. But he will practice today, and we'll know a little bit more with all those, different things as the week progresses.
Next question.
Just with McElvain, their quarterback, obviously a lot of experience, not afraid to go down the field with it. So just obviously there's still some questions about the cornerback position for you guys. So just where are you at with the corners, and then do you expect them to challenge you down the field?
They're going to challenge us downfield, and I really like the quarterback. I told the team the story. He reminds me of very similar of like a Baker Mayfield. Our second year at Tennessee, we played Oklahoma, and I believe we were up 17-0 going in the fourth quarter. And some unknown guy that wore number 6 was running around. All of a sudden, we couldn't tackle him. He had high vision. He was able to extend plays and made some big plays and brought them back to win the football game. And they were they were a top 5 opponent. And, he has the opportunity to keep plays alive. He's gritty. He's high vision. So if you don't keep your points of pressure on the quarterback, he's going to go through, he's going to exhaust the progressions, and he's going to be able to break, contain, and he'll hurt you. But, he has the ability to scramble and run and make plays, and because he's a high vision with always 2 hands on the ball in the pocket, he's able to escape. So if you're not disciplined in your plaster rules defensively, they can create big plays in a hurry. So he possesses a challenge for us. He's played a lot of football games for them, and I know he's one of their leaders. And, I know he runs a bunch of quarterback coaching camps and all that, so he's kind of got that it factor for them, just like Jalen has the it factor for us.
Coach, with a lot of guys back on offense, just how good is the rhythm right now, going into the season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought in our second scrimmage, it was probably the best rhythm we've had all throughout the course of training camp. But again, I think it's the consistency and performance day in and day out. That's the biggest thing, and that's why today is vital in our preparation. You win games throughout your preparation throughout the week, and if you have a good week of preparation, that just gives you an opportunity to perform at your best on Saturday. Then obviously you have to make the plays, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to be detailed. And we always say it is, your practice habits become game day realities. But I still think we need more rhythm, and I think it gets back to, I keep talking about making the routine plays routinely. A drop pass in our offense is equivalent like a turnover. It stifles momentum. It stifles, your tempo with which you want to play on offense. We have to take care of the football. It's been on Saturday where, Mark, I'm giving you the numbers. I gave you 20 years on Matt Stoltz, and then I believe on Saturday it'll be 278 days since we played a home game in Centennial Bank Stadium. So there's a lot that goes into it with the rhythm and getting into a stadium rhythm with the play clocks and the 40-second clock, the 25-second clock, managing the line of scrimmage with our different cadences and different tempos and all the different things that are associated with it. And again, we haven't done this in a while against a really good opponent, so it's going to be a great challenge.
Feeling about the tight end room at this point, going through fall practice and spring, carryover from spring ball too?
Yeah, I've been really encouraged by Manny Stevenson. Having Manny back, I think, has really, really helped that room. He's played a lot of football for us. I think he really had a productive and a good camp for us. Tyler Little, who played as a true freshman, continues to get better and better and better. Miller McCrumbie was slow a little bit with an injury throughout the course of training camp, but he'll be back. So I think with those three individuals, it's been encouraging. We still need more depth there with the way we want to play football, but I like their work ethic. They're students of the game, and they're continuing to get better. So I've been very encouraged by that room.
Guys, anything else?
Coach, you talked about playing in state opponents. Just your thoughts on that. Hopefully with one, and then, do recruits ask you about playing Arkansas next year?
Not yet, but I do think as we move forward, we have a lot of great institutions in this state that are really well coached, and they take pride in being in the state of Arkansas. And, I'm all for with the challenging of scheduling and the new direction, which we spoke about in the landscape of college football. Why wouldn't all the local universities play every year? From, Arkansas Pine Bluff and Arkansas, which we play in 2025, but why shouldn't that be a yearly game? I think it's healthy for the state. I think it generates excitement towards higher education. I think it's great for the student bodies, the campuses, the excitement, the energy. And, when I was at Central Michigan and we joined with Michigan State, and we really tried making like a whole state rivalry and kind of coming up with a system. I was gone, but Michigan State came and played Central Michigan in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And I know there's a lot of states and their representatives that are making the in-state schools now play. But when you look at what we have a lot to be extremely prideful of in this state. And I think, when all your local universities play each other, I think that helps the high school player as well. I think it helps the high school players. I think it brings more attention from the high school players in our state of the great schools that we have in Arkansas. So I'm as big a fan as anyone as, in our non-conference scheduling of playing all the schools in Arkansas. I think that's extremely healthy, and I hope maybe down the road we can come up with something like that.
Any other questions? Chris, you good? All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.